power of optimism and the Optimist Creed. You've probably heard the story about the little boy back in the time when we had general stores and they had dry goods in the back and they had barrels of various things like flour and sugar. Well, this one store had a barrel of molasses. And this one little boy always went in the back of the store and he would look around, and if he didn't see anybody, he would go over and dip his finger in the barrel of molasses. Well, most of the ladies thought this was fine on the first dip. But when he started doing it multiple times, there were complaints to the manager. And this happened over and over, and the manager warned the little boy, please stop, please stop. Finally, he banned the little boy from the store altogether. Well, the little boy stayed outside as long as he could until he couldn't stand it anymore. And so one day he didn't see anybody, so he slipped in the store, walked down the side of the aisle. He just got back to the barrel of molasses, went out from behind the curtain. The manager jumped, grabbed the little boy in one hand, the lid of the barrel on the other hand, held the little boy over that barrel of molasses and dropped him in. And he was slowly sinking out of sight. He was heard to say, Lord, give me the tongue equal to this opportunity. Well, that story demonstrates the power of optimism. And also, we're going to talk about why optimism is important and how the Optimist Creed can help us develop optimism in our lives. Now, what is optimism and what is this positive attitude that we hear about? Well, I look at optimism as optic, to see, and optimum, the best possible result. And in terms of attitude, attitude is what's going on outside of us that tells other people what's going on inside of us. I've come to believe that whether we're an optimist or a pessimist is a matter of choice. There's a lot of jokes about optimism and pessimism in terms of inventions, that the optimist invented the pencil and the pessimist invented the eraser. The optimist invented the airplane and the pessimist invented the parachute. Churchill said that the pessimist always sees difficulty in opportunity, while the optimist finds opportunity in difficulty. It's a way of looking at the world. Why is it important which choice we make? Well, if you read the studies, now with the internet you can go on and find studies about everything, but the studies seem to be pretty universal in finding that people with an optimistic attitude do better at a lot of different things. They have better health, they have better longevity, they have better relationships, they do better in their business. There are a lot of reasons why one would want to make a choice to be an optimist. It's not just innate. The story is also told about the two children that this couple had, and one seemed to be early in life an optimist and the other seemed to be a pessimist, and so they took him to a psychiatrist to try to examine whether this was really true. So the psychiatrist took the one little boy in this room that was filled with toys and sparkling new things all over the place, and the little boy just sat down and refused to play with everything, started crying. He says, if I play with any of this, it's got to get scratched, the batteries are going to wear down, it just won't be new anymore. And the psychiatrist said, yes, that's right, this little boy is a pessimist. Took the other little boy to a room completely filled with manure. The little boy ran in there, started yelling and screaming and digging around and yelling and screaming. If this room is filled with manure, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere. And that's the difference in life, of whether we're one that just sees these circumstances as dismal and unpleasant, or whether we're going to be the one looking for the pony. Well, you're going to have to make a decision in your life whether or not you want to be the optimist or whether you're going to be the pessimist. I've always wondered if there was a poll taken of everyone in our family, our immediate family, our friends, our circle within the community, our business co-workers. Would they say that we're an optimist? That is someone that they enjoy having around, that really motivates them, that builds them up? Or that we're the pessimist, the kind of person that brightens a room by leaving it? Well, if you're the one who wants to be the optimist, then the Optimist Creed through Optimist International is something that I think can be of a great benefit to you. Now, the story of this creed is interesting because a man by the name of Christian Larson wrote and published this creed over 100 years ago in 1902. In 1922, Optimist International, an organization devoted to helping youth in their communities, adopted this as the official creed of Optimist International. So if you're a member of an Optimist Club, wherever you are in the world, every week at the meeting, at the end of the meeting, you close it with reading the Optimist Creed. And I've read this creed now hundreds and probably thousands of times, and it has special meaning to anyone that reads it, but particularly if you're someone who wants to develop optimism as a way of life. Now, to me, as I've read this creed, what I see here are two primary promises at the beginning and the end, and inside is 8 action steps, 4 inward, 4 outward, that can help us in that path of developing optimism as a way of life. Now, the beginning and end, these promises that we're trying to capture, to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, and to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Now, we'd all like to think that we had such a settled peace of mind that nothing could disturb it. But what happens in life whenever we just get to that point where we're thinking that day, you know, everything's going pretty good. Life's pretty good, the kids are good, the job's good, life's pretty good. What happens? Well, what happens is worry, anger, fear, and trouble. Now, we don't have to worry if any of those things are going to happen to us, because they're going to happen to us, aren't they? There's no one that can say they never have any worry, they never have any trouble, they never have any fear, because it happens to all of us. We can't control those things that come into our life, those external things that come into our life. The only thing that we can control is our response to those things. And what the whole concept of optimism and the power of a mental attitude has shown is that our mind has amazing powers, that we can focus our thought process in a way that we have certain internal positive energy. People of faith might call it the spirit moving within you, some positive energy that we can develop within us. Now, to paraphrase old MacDonald, the way that I see how this is set up, the 8 action steps that's going to help us to try to get that settled peace of mind that won't be overcome as the winds blow, as the storms come, is E-E-I-I-E-I-E-I. Oh. I'm saying E-E-I-I-E-I-E-I. And let me talk about what that means. External and internal. The things that's going on inside of us and the things that we do outside of us. And let me talk about the internal things first, because I think that's where it starts. Although, I think when Mr. Larson wrote this, he intentionally designed it in a combination. And some people find that they have to, what's called, fake it till they make it. That maybe it's just not natural for them to really be an optimist, but they have to govern their actions in the way that they treat other people in a way to help them develop the inward traits that they're going to need to truly be an optimist. But skipping the 2 E's here, let's look at the 2 I's. To look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect the best, only the best. That's E-E. To be just as to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, and to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Now, those are 4 things that have to be going on inside of us. Now, what are we talking about here? Well, when you look and you think, thinking also involves forgetting, and then constant improvement. What we're talking about here is developing a way that our mind that is designed and geared up to look at things that happen to us. Today, something is going to happen in your life that maybe you don't want to happen, or you're going to look at the news today and you're going to see that some terrible news is happening somewhere, and these thoughts are going to start coming into your mind, and you're going to have to train your mind as to how you're going to perceive, that is, look at these events. and how you're going to react and respond to those events. Zig Ziglar was a great optimist, passed away recently. Norman Vincent Peale, there's a whole series of books if you go to the bookstore that you can see on positive thinkers. Ziglar's always said that you are who you are and where you are and what you are because of what went into your mind. If you want to change who you are or what you are or where you are, you have to change what goes into your mind. And so let's think about that today. Let's say that we woke up this morning, we turned on the radio, there's always bad news. You're reading the paper at the same time, and you've got the television on. Horrible things happening, murder, death, destruction, disease, all of this stuff going on. You drive to work. Somebody cuts you off on your way to work this morning. Then you pull into your office, and the first thing that happens is 40 people come up to you with all the problems that are going on in the company today, all the bad things that are happening. And then the gossip people want to start coming up and say, did you hear about Bob? Horrible about Bob. Mary's going around on him. I mean, all kinds of things are going to be coming on today. Then you're going to go home after work. Radio, newspaper, TV, bad, bad, bad. And then you're sitting there in your chair about 8 o'clock and you go, wow, I really feel bad. What's going on today? Well, what have we put into our mind all day long? Negative, negative, negative things all day long. And it requires a conscious effort during the day to inject positive things into your life. If you're a person of faith, that might be reading, listening to Scripture. If you're a person that enjoys poetry, some poetry. If you're a person that enjoys Jerry Seinfeld, watch a Jerry Seinfeld episode. Make sure that you've intentionally, during the day, done some things to inject positive thoughts into your mind and to eliminate, as much as we can, those negative thoughts from coming into our mind. Because it's going to have a direct influence on how we act and think and react to situations. So we have these situations. How do we look at them? How do we think about them? The other important thing in this inward is the conversations that we have with ourselves. This is one of the things as optimists, as we work with youth, what we see is that from very early on, we're putting tapes into our mind that are telling us whether we're a good person, a bad person, a smart person, a good athlete, whether we can accomplish things or not. Some people are told from very early on, you're worthless, you can't do anything, there's no way that you can succeed. And they internalize those tapes, and so whenever they're faced with something in life, the first reaction is, I can't do it, nobody ever thought I could do it. This negativity that goes into our mind. So we have to change those tapes. And we have to work on positive affirmations ourselves, that we can write some affirmations down. We can be injecting these thoughts into our mind. Today it's sad to believe and think that there are millions of people going to bed tonight without food. But it's also sad to think that there are many millions of people that are going to bed tonight without any positive sense about themselves, about their community, about their country. And we can do something about that as optimists. Because if we can change some of these internals so that we're looking and thinking and we have a fixed positive attitude about our goals, we have a sense of where we're going in life, what our beliefs are, those things can't be shaken, then we're going to be able to do some of the external things. The E part of the creed. And what are those? To talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person we meet. To make all your friends feel that there is something in them. To be just enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. And to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. These are outward things that we can all do today. When we leave here today, we can make a conscious effort to do all of those things with everyone that we come in contact with. Now, wouldn't that be an amazing day? Wouldn't it be an amazing day if at work or at church or at play, wherever you are in your group, that you are the one that's always talking about health, happiness, and prosperity. instead of the doom and gloom and the world's going to heck in a handbasket and everything's bad and boy, I don't know, and you know, it's a horrible future and horrible, horrible, horrible. Can you be the one talking health, happiness, prosperity? You'll probably stand out. You know, the sad thing about being a pessimist is you might be right. That would be the worst. You be the one to make your friends feel that there is something in them. As an attorney, I handled estates. And so you get to see the documents and the things that people thought that kept all during their life. And I get these little boxes, little metal boxes that would be filled with a half a dozen notes, sometimes less. A note from an employer that said, "You're doing a really good job. Thank you for what you did on that project." Or a note from someone else at a time when they were sick saying, you know, we love you, we're really pulling for you, you know, we miss you. The reality is, in our whole lifetime, we don't get that many affirmations. We don't get that many attaboys. We don't get that many times where somebody really affirms our worth, our dignity, the fact that we have value as another human being in this world. That we even recognize that we're alive and that you're able to do positive things too, and that I affirm you. So let's be the one that makes our friends feel that there is something in them. And then enthusiasm about the success of others as you're about your own. Years ago, I started writing notes, note cards. After I saw how people collected these notes, I will send out notes. I try to send out a couple of them a day for various things. If I see something that some friend, some acquaintance, somebody has done someplace, I'll send them a note. Trying to send out that positive energy into the world, or I'll try to make a comment. Now, I have to tell you that this is a lifelong process, because when you see down here, we have to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. The natural human inclination is to go negative, is to destroy, is to say bad things about other people. It takes a reorientation of our whole thought process to get over on the positive side. So trust me, it's not going to all happen in a day. It's not going to even happen over a number of years, but you can make constant improvement about that. Now, the wearing a cheerful countenance at all times and giving every creature a smile, just try today walking into some place and smiling and see what reaction you get from people. It's amazing how they smile in return. Now, what is that about? It's like we're hardwired to respond to people that affirm our humanity. Because when I'm looking at you and smile, in your mind you're going, that person recognizes that I'm alive and I'm here. And he smiles and he's glad to be alive and I'm glad to be alive. In fact, I'm glad he's alive. It's this cycle, what I call cycle of optimism. When you read books like The Secret, when you get into real study of positive, the power of optimism, it's not about getting something back from being an optimist, putting out positive energy into the world, but the reality is, the law of sowing and reaping says that if you're constantly putting positive good out into the world, that it has a tendency to come back to you. Ziegler says, if you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. It's this cycle of sowing and reaping. So there's actually a positive benefit to be gained, but that isn't the motivation of being an optimist. It's all the positive energy that can be created inside of you. It's the positive energy that you can give others. And then it's the return through the natural process of life that's developed. Now, you can be one of these positive people. You can be one of these people that puts out the positivity in your environment, or you can choose to be negative. Either way, it's going to be contagious. Ziegler tells the story about the boss that assembles all of his company executives together in a room and says, all right, now I know we've had some rough times, but from today forward, we're going to be nothing but positive. We're going to get here on time. We're going to not take excessive breaks. We're going to not be on the internet all the time, wasting our time. We're going to be meeting all of our goals, and you can follow my lead because I'm going to be the one to show you the example. Well, everything was going pretty good until one day he went to a luncheon Optimist meeting, and he was running a little late because his president had him sing the birthday and anniversaries once too many. And as he got to go towards the office, he was going over the speed limit and looked in his rearview mirror, and of course there was the police officer. And the police officer came up, and he tried, you know, how nice we are when the police officer comes up, and do you want to see my contribution to the Police Benevolent Society card? No. And he's just going to give him a ticket. And boy, did he get upset. Things had been going pretty good, and now this officer was going to give him a ticket when he was a taxpayer, and he had paid all these taxes, and he had employed all these people, and he had done everything for this community, and they were going to give him a ticket. And he was just stupid. And he was getting madder and madder and madder. And so he is now late back from lunch. He screeches into his stall, and he runs into the front door of that office, and he says, "You get me that production manager in here right now." Well, the production manager had been having a pretty good day. His team had been winning the football games. His, family was doing good. Life was pretty good. And all of a sudden, here's the boss on the intercom yelling for him to come in. He walks in, he says, "Boss, what's up?" He says, "What's up? Well, what's not up is our sales figures. And you either get those sales figures up, or you're going out. Well, that manager went back to his office, and just all the way back, he says, "I'm the one that keeps this place open. If it wasn't for me, we would have shut the doors a long time. Who does he think he is? Why is he talking to me like that?" He was really upset. His whole day had been just torn down. So he goes back, and of course there are 3 vice presidents under him. He gets on the intercom. He says, "I want all 3 of you in here. I want you in here right now." They had all been having great days. I mean, everything was going good. They had a little golf plan later in the day. Things were going to be very, very happy for them. They walk in, and this manager just reads all 3 of these guys the riot act about how dismal their performance is, and how worthless their production is, and how things had better change quickly, or they were all going to lose their jobs. They had all been thinking that morning about what big bonuses they were going to be getting. Now they think they might be getting fired. Well, they were really upset. So they all went back to their office, called their secretaries in, read them the riot act. The secretaries then didn't know what to do, because only one of the secretaries had someone under them, and that was this little person, kind of part-time secretary. And they went up to the secretary, and they just read her the riot act. Well, they were all upset. Everybody was upset. And so this lowest level employee in the company is driving home. She pulls into her driveway. She opens the door, and what does she see? She was a single mother. Her 12-year-old had just completely tore this house apart. Everything was a mess. She exploded. She said, "You get up to your room right now. You're not having any supper tonight. You get up to your room right now." Well, the little boy had been having a great day. The video games had been going good. He was really happy and excited. He thought he'd done good on a test that day. And then he got really upset. He thought, "I'm a good little boy. I do everything for my mom." So he's walking up the stairs. And right about that time, across the stairs walks the family cat. Now, I'm not advocating this, you understand. This is part of the story. That little boy takes 2 steps and kicks that cat all the way up the stairs. Now, if any of that had to happen, wouldn't it have been much better if the owner of the company, right after he had gotten the ticket, had driven to that lady's house and kicked that cat himself? He would have saved the day, the attitude, the feelings of all of those other people. So what that story demonstrates is a couple of things. First of all, a lot of things that you're going to encounter that's negative has nothing to do with you. The person that's reacting negatively to you has just had their cat kicked all day long. But secondly, and more importantly, is that if you put out negativity into the world, it doesn't just stop with you and the person that you're negative to. It just goes on and on and on in a cycle of negativity. Whereas, if you're one of the people that are putting out the positive energy into the world, then you can also know that that cycle of positivity is being created and making a better world. Well, I would suggest to you that if you want to develop optimism as a way of life, that you consider joining an Optimist Club. And if there's not an Optimist Club available to you, then I strongly suggest you go to the Optimist International website and download a copy of the Optimist Creed and recite it to yourself over and over again and give it the meaning that you think that it deserves. The goal and the mission of optimism is that through the demonstration of hope and vision, we can change the lives of young people. And what a noble goal that is. But what we also have understood is that by demonstrating, showing, internalizing the Optimist Creed, that we not only can give hope and vision to the young in our community, but we can give hope and vision to those who are in our families, in our workplace, in our communities, and in our world. Thank you.